and again and again and again. I'm trying my best to do it, but I am far from being able to say that I understand everything. It is a very highly congested language, and every word is kind of a deep meaning. So without the commentaries, we would hardly be able to make much of it. But fortunately, so many great commentators for this text in practically in all important Chinese traditions. The most important, as you know, is Fa Zhang, who belongs to the Huayan tradition, one of the patriarchs of the Huayan tradition. Then Yuan Chao, who is one of the most important disciples of Xuanzang, that representing the Weishe tradition. And then you have the whole scale of Zen masters, Han Shan and so on, who have commented on this text. So also even the Vinaya school, they praised highly this text. So practically it influenced all tradition of Chinese Buddhism. And another text that I have been studying recently and trying to make notes so as to be able to translate it is the Huisi, as you know, one of the most important founders of the Tiantai tradition. And he kind of developed this text further with his own philosophy, which is not always a traditional Tiantai philosophy. So it is very interesting. You have so many different aspects of interpretation. And without these different aspects, it's very difficult to understand what is this the real essence of this text. Among the modern commentators, we have very important Yin Shun. His commentator, he is not strictly belonging to any school. He's kind of combining all Chinese schools, but mostly he's connected with Tai Chi, who is also emphasizing the Chittamatra, the only Weishe aspect of Chinese Buddhism, as being the most important part for our understanding. So many different aspects, and one can spend years just reading these commentaries. And what I have tried to do is somehow to just to make the text comprehensible, to collect the most important informations and put them together and not analyze the different approaches. Otherwise, it would take years and years, and it is a challenge rather for scholarship, not so much for practical purpose. And this text is very practical. And I emphasize rather the practical part of it. And the practical part of it was for me very, very important, especially in the recent times, when I have gone through all kinds of mental tribulations due to what happened here with the center and with my sickness. They all came together. So I happened to remember this text, and it helped me very much. Because in order to understand this text, we have to understand how the wisdom makes the ignorance weak and how the ignorance makes the wisdom weak. And we live in a mind which is a mixture, as we have learned, of ignorance and wisdom. In some of us, the wisdom is more prominent. In some of us, the ignorance is more prominent. But we always live in the combination. And in this text, this combination is, shall we record now? This combination is the alaya consciousness. The alaya consciousness is the combination of wisdom and ignorance. In a way, you have a similar idea in the Xuanzang tradition, but yet it is very different. In Xuanzang tradition, the alaya consciousness is the consciousness which, so to say, is what we understand as being ourself. The idea of ourself comes from this consciousness. The seventh consciousness observes the alaya, no matter whether the alaya as a whole or alaya, as Xuanzang believes, the tianfen of alaya, the subject aspect of alaya, the perceiver, of alaya is then identified with the self, according to Xuanzang. But here we will find a rather very interesting explanation. The alaya moves when, so to say, our mind moves. When the mind does not move, we are in presence of what this text calls the original enlightenment. 本觉. The original enlightenment in alaya is combined with the non-enlightenment, 不觉. So our state is the due to original enlightenment, we start to understand our non-enlightenment. And due to our non-enlightenment, we get a deeper and deeper understanding of the process of enlightening. Without understanding non-enlightenment, we don't get deep into the process of enlightening. This process of enlightening is called Shi Jue. Shi means beginning, because in this process of enlightening, as we have learned, we go from the end to the beginning. And the beginning is when the very moment when the mind starts to move. That is a beginning. So as long as we are not a perfectly enlightened Buddhas, we will not understand the mind which has no tendency whatsoever to move. When the mind completely abandons tendency of movement, then we understand how ignorance arises from the mind itself. So ignorance is, the mind is originally pure, but the mind which is originally true, so to say, is able, when it moves, to give rise to ignorance. And we cannot follow this process unless we go to the beginning of the arising of the mind. Now, as you know, in Chinese tradition, we have the Tun Jue and the Qian Jue, the gradual enlightenment and the original enlightenment. In this text, they are, of course, combined. There is no contradiction between the process of enlightenment and the actually the enlightenment which reveals immediately the original pure nature of the mind, which is suchness. The suchness cannot be modified. The suchness, so to say, cannot be changed. The suchness is suchness because it has no change in its nature. But we cannot understand that suchness has no change in its nature. That's why we indulge in the process of thinking. The more we indulge in the process of thinking, the more we are paradoxically bound by this process. Because the process of thinking in this tradition gives rise to idea of true objects of thinking. And this idea is completely false. And in order to understanding, then we continue with the four aspects of the original enlightenment, which is the essence of alaya. Essence of alaya is suchness, and suchness is another word for also original enlightenment, for the Dharma body, Dharmakaya, for the true state of things, Dharmata, for the true element of Dharma, the Fatye, the Dharma Dhatu. So many synonyms, but they always boil to the same thing. But here in this tradition, we can only understand the practice of Buddhism. That means the practice of ethical behavior, the practice of concentration, the practice of wisdom. We can only understand when we see the end and the beginning both. When we see only beginning, we become one-sided. When we see only the end, we become one-sided. When we see the beginning and the end, and that's why in this text we go through the big process from beginning to the end, again from the process from end to beginning, again from the process of beginning to end, and again from the process from end to beginning. So that we won't be mistaken. When we are ignorant, our consciousness grows and grows and grows, and our link to the objects, which are, so to say, creation of consciousness, which is creation of manas, which is self, so to say, self-consciousness, and which is again creation of alaya, which is combined consciousness, and combined consciousness is also alaya. But the essence of alaya is this original enlightenment. Without the original enlightenment, we don't know non-enlightenment. And when we don't know non-enlightenment, we cannot practice. So the enlightenment can only be understood when related to non-enlightenment. Non-enlightenment can only be understood when related to enlightenment. as far as we are not Buddhas, the Buddhas has completely penetrated the empty nature of all relations. He just has nothing to, so to say, to reform. He just reflects things as they are and reforms us, because he has perfect ability to understand how the objects are created by the mind and how the mind again can change the objects to help the beings. He does not need to help himself anymore. He has the perfect knowledge. So he does not move the mind, yet he can reflect the mind through the mind, our minds, and help us according to our conditionings, which he can reflect. And because we have learned these, our conditionings are unmeasurable, everybody has a different karma, slightly different or very different. So the conditionings of us beings is unthinkable. We have so many different conditionings, nobody can gauge. But by transforming the mind into suchness, then we can reduce the power of our conditioning and penetrate its nature of suchness. So in this case, the suchness permeates the ignorance. On the other hand, if we rely on blindly on the objects of consciousness as being something real, and our differentiation of them as being something it is really there, then we are, so to say, through our differentiated consciousness, which is also called in our text the discriminating consciousness, very important word, our defilements of the mind, our ignorance is based on views, clinging to views, and on greed, tanha, drishti, tanha. That means can tanha means greed. Because we have greed and views, mostly wrong views, we are caught in endless chains of discriminating, which cause suffering to us and suffering to beings. So this is especially important in our time, where this differentiation is so evident as being the cause of so much confusion in the world. So this text is very illuminating. So now next topic will be how to understand this original enlightenment, which is also in the text equated with original purity of the mind. According to Buddhism, even so it is explained in many different ways, our defilements are guests to the mind. They are something which does not belong to the nature of the mind. Nature of the mind is pure. The defilements are guests, called agantuka. Agantuka in Sanskrit or Pali means also guest. It is someone who comes and goes. That's why he's called agantuka. The defilements come and go, but the nature of mind is something which does not come and does not go. And this is also the name of the Buddha. Buddha is called Tathagata because he is someone who comes in suchness and goes in suchness. Coming in suchness and going in suchness means not coming, not going, as Nagarjuna later develops in his philosophy. This is a nature of dependent arising. Independent arising, things are coming and going, but nothing really comes and nothing really goes. So uh, we live from the very beginning in the incomprehensible world because we uh, identify with something which has no true existence. True existence in Indian philosophy means existing by itself. Our defilement, based on our ignorance, do not exist by itself. The only thing that exists by itself is the nature of the mind in this tradition. The nature of the mind does not change. Suchness does not change. But it, even though it stays the same, it reacts naturally according to the circumstances, according to the pratyaya. Pratyaya means yuan. The yin yuan means conditionality. So even though our mind reacts on conditionality, its nature does not change. So 虽然而不变. We react according to the conditions, but our nature of the mind remains the same. And this only Buddha can understand thoroughly. We will learn how by understanding from end to the beginning, and from beginning to end, and again from end to beginning, and again from beginning to end, understanding completely how our mind, which is not moving by its nature, identifies with a movement. And this especially becomes clear when we have some base in shamatha. Shamatha is key to understanding of this tradition. When we have some shamatha, then when the mind is still, that which comes and goes does not look real. So we are in kind of conditioning that what comes and goes is like coming and going in a dream. And what we have to do, we have to awake from this dream. And the one who awakes completely from this dream in this tradition is only Buddha. He awakes completely from his this dream because he understands completely the mind of the beings where the wisdom and ignorance are always in a mixed state. Now we will learn the ignorance is not something that can be understood immediately, but we have learned that we adopt to wisdom when we stop thinking. When we stop thinking, we, so to say, we adopt to wisdom, and we can we start to have intuition that can be understood in Chinese tradition as kind of a kaiwu or satori. We understand that these thoughts, they have no reality of their own. So we can do things without thinking. This is very familiar for those who study Chinese tradition, which is connected with I Ching and Taoism. We can do things very effectively when we do not think. And here, when we do not think, we are, so to say, heading towards the Buddha's wisdom. But since this tendency of ours to identify with consciousness, which is always thinking, so we always come back due to the what is called the bijas, the seeds, or the permeation of our consciousness with ignorance, which cannot be completely removed unless we become the fully enlightened Buddhas. Even the highly realized bodhisattvas, they still have very subtle seeds of ignorance. But we will come to it. Let's now come to questions. I have explained this in order to let us understand better these four mirrors, which explain how we have four kinds of consciousness in this tradition. Usually we have only 6 kinds of consciousness. In this tradition of Chittamatrata, of the mind only, we have 4 kinds of mind. First, we have alaya consciousness. So we transform alaya consciousness into wisdom. Then this wisdom is called the wisdom of the universal mirror. It is in our text, it is called the real empty mirror. Then we have the individualizing consciousness, which is called in this tradition manas. In Chinese, or in Sanskrit tradition, the alaya consciousness is called chitta or shin, heart. This is very important. This Chinese tradition, heart, is actually the essence of the mind in Chinese tradition is a heart. The brain, same in Buddhism, brain has only the, so to say, supporting function of the heart. But the essence of the mind is in the heart. So in the heart is stored our reaction to the emotions. And as our reaction to the emotions, to the uh, what do they call it in English? To the feelings, or to the well, let's call it feelings. Our reaction to the feelings is the base for our differentiation. That is very Buddhistic, and also very Indian. And in Indian philosophy, in general, our reaction to the world is based on our feelings, not on our mind. Our mind functions on the base of feelings. This is also in other schools of Indian philosophy, Samkhya, Vedanta. And this is also true for Chinese philosophy. So this chitta means that which chinote iti chittam. It means that which collects our previous reaction to our feelings. Then we have the manas. The manas is individualizing mind, which, so to say, individualizes these feelings. This is my feeling. But still, this process of individualizing of feeling is based on continuity of the mind. And this continuity of the mind, to understand the continuity of the mind and to break through this continuity of the mind as being something real, this demands a very high stage of realization, of enlightenment. Normally, we do not penetrate the illusionary nature of the continuity of the mind based on our differentiation through sensations. Then we come to the lower stage because we have not penetrated the illusionary nature of the continuity of the mind. We are attached and we fabricate names to give, so to say, some stable nature to our tendencies of mind. Because there is no stability in the universe. This stability is created by names, by concepts, by our way we communicate with the world. We communicate with the world through concepts. And our concepts are different because we have different karma. So when we penetrate the falsity of the self and what belongs to the self, then we can, so to say, abandon these two types of attachment to the reality of the objects created by the continuity of the mind, and to the concepts we fabricate in the mind to give stability and give like existing nature, truly existing nature to our differentiation. Now, when we have not penetrated this illusion, which causes us illusion of continuity of the mind, which causes us to create concepts on the base of our clinging and make that then clinging very tight due to our fabricating new and new concepts and judging reality as something stable due to our firm belief in the fabrication of the concepts as being corresponding to reality. Then we again, we give rise to karma and to the, so we tighten the bondage of the karma. So this is very important to understand. We will, and the text goes to it again and again and again and again to make us realize how we are, so to say, alienated from that which actually is the true nature of our mind. And here it is these four kinds of wisdom compared to four kinds of mirrors. In the mirrors, when we understand the nature of the mind, in the mirrors, all objects are just reflected as images. So very significant, the thinking in in Chinese is the same character as for remembering. We remember, we nian, we think, and when we think, we identify with the images of our mind. But when we do not think, there is no space for identifying for the images of the mind, because the mind process starts with the adverting to an object. But in the beginning, there is no object in the mind. There is no true object in the mind. This is the meaning of the dependent origination. All objects that appear in the mind are just relations, memories, images. So now let us go to the questions, if there are any, and then we will continue by explaining these four mirrors. These four mirrors transform our the original enlightenment, which is the true nature of alaya. We can only find the enlightenment when we go in this tradition back to alaya. Alaya brings, so to say, from alaya everything starts. The pure phenomena, impure phenomena, everything starts when alaya functions. The nature of alaya, the very word alaya means dwelling. But the true mind, it is also in Dhammapada, also part of all Buddhist traditions. The true mind does not dwell. But we dwell because we have illusions about the mind. When we know that we have illusions about the mind, then we, so to say, we are in the process of understanding the original enlightenment, which is the process of transforming our discriminating consciousness into wisdoms. The four consciousnesses, four wisdoms. They are likened in our text to four mirrors. So let us go to questions if there are any. If not, then let us explain the four mirrors, which will lead us then to understanding the process of becoming involved with consciousness from beginning, which is the karmic aspect of alaya, to the end, which is the bondage of samsara, through the creating new and new karmas. So, are there any questions? Let us go to them.
Yes, Pastor, I have a few questions, Pastor.
Yes, Agus, please.
Yes. I listened to your teaching in another teaching. You give simile. You give I remember your other teaching two simile. This is for in the practice setting. The first simile is like when a person practice and perhaps he attains some progress, you give a simile like a professional well digger. So when a professional well digger, when he reached a certain level of the soil, perhaps he can recognize this is this kind of soil, or perhaps he recognize some water, and he know that he will reach uh, the 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 attainment that he want to reach is almost near. That's that the your first simile, and then the second simile. Just last time you give a simile like a sailor when he
Digging the well. When the water starts coming, then you know you are about to
very near.
reach what you
Yes,
need. Huh?
yes. And then the second simile you
Okay.
also mentioned like a sailor. He will send his crows to to
Yes.
perhaps almost
Yes.
near to the land. So my question is my first question is, I just want to know these two simile actually in one in from what book, perhaps Visuddhimagga or whatever. And then my first question, and then the second question, can you relate this two simile with this text that we discuss now? Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. This is a Buddhist common background in all Buddhist tradition. We have this meaning. Only in this tradition we actually attain the true suchness only by the bodhisattva practice. This is a difference. But in order to have the deep knowledge of that which is, so to say, beyond our discrimination, differentiating mind, we have to get the kind of direct insight into that which makes us approach the true mind. In this tradition, the true mind, in Theravada tradition, normally nirvana is not equal to a state of mind. This is particular to this tradition. In Theravada, even Madhyamika, the nirvana is not identified with the mind. In this tradition, that's why it is called chitta matrata, mind only. The nirvana is identified with the mind. Which mind? The pure mind. So the process of enlightenment, however, is the same. We just like when we find a jewel, first we find it surrounded by all kinds of earth and rock or whatever. When we break the rock, when we remove the earth, then we can uh, polish the jewel. And when we polish the jewel, then it will have the qualities which we normally do not see, right? So similarly, the process of getting enlightened is first we have to remove the outer impurities, and then we have to polish the jewel so that it gives the true essence, which is shining and pure. So just like diamond, when it is when it is pure, it is shining and it has the hardness to uh, subdue all other kinds of stones. So when we reach the uh, purity of the mind, then the all the impurities which were connected with the jewels, they become not real, right? But now they are real because we are still far from our enlightened nature. So we polish the first starting with the most gross impurities and then coming more and more to the very subtle impurities until we have reached the most subtle impurity, then we become the Buddhas. This is more or less the same. Only in the Theravada tradition, the Arahat is also considered to be of the same nature of the mind like the fully enlightened Buddha. The Buddha is the supreme Arahat, but the nature is same. It is beyond the bondage of samsara. The Mahayana tradition is a non-dualistic tradition. We practice Mahayana because we don't want just to push the troublesome samsaric existence to outside, but we want to penetrate this samsaric existence by wisdom and transform it by wisdom. Which is not our wisdom, but which is, so to say, the non-dualistic wisdom is as the Lotus Sutra and so on teaches, and other Mahayana sutras teaches, it is a true wisdom. There is only one true wisdom. There are not different true wisdoms. All the other wisdoms, then the perfect wisdom of the non-dualistic wisdom of the Buddha, they are only means for attaining the supreme wisdom, which is, so to say, the privilege of the non-dualistic full enlightenment. So the process of polishing the impurities from the gross to more and more subtle until the very, very subtle is the same. But according to this tradition, the very subtle enlightenments, we even when we are practicing the bodhisattva path, unless we have the very high degree of non-dualistic realization, we even don't see. We even cannot see. Even the Arahat, according to this tradition, cannot see how, due to the karmic consciousness, there arises the perceiver and the perceived. That we do not see. We have to have a very, very high stage of realization to see. And we even do not see that this continuity of the mind is not real. We still, even if we are very good meditators, we still identify with the continuity of the mind. We have to have a very high degree of realization not to identify with the continuity of the mind. So even when we become an arahat, so there is still the subtle tendency to identify with the continuity of the mind, because in this tradition, the arahat has still this bijas, this permeation of the consciousness by habits. And the habits are not creating new karma, but they are related to the continuity of the mind. So that's how this polishing of the jewel of enlightenment in this tradition is much more detailed and much more demanding to understand on our part, because we are confronted with the processes of the mind which we do not even see. But we believe that they are true and they make sense when we believe in non-dualistic enlightenment. They make perfect sense. But we actually do not see them. They are so subtle that we do not see them. Even the seeing that the continuity of the mind is illusionary and created by the differentiating wisdom, even that demands a very high stage of realization where we do not rely anymore on the chitta nimitta, on the images of the mind. This is a very high stage of realization. And Ashwagosha, according to Master Taishi, he is the one who has realized actually so high realization. The realization when all the images of the mind are completely real, and the mind has ability to be complete master of the images of the mind, of the objects of the mind. So this makes this text so interesting because it's very unique. If we want to understand how to go into the more and more subtle stages of understanding the non-enlightenment and enlightenment, this study of this text is very, very rewarding. There is, as far as I know, no other text describes so wonderfully. In a Tibetan tradition and also in Chinese tradition, we have the text called Uttara Tantra Shastra. In the Indian tradition, when we study development of mind from the Tathagata Garbha, which is equal to the original enlightenment, the enlightened nature in all beings, which is covered by our 6 layers of ignorance. So that tradition is very wonderful. It is worthwhile studying, but it does not have such a wonderful description of the stages, how we practice from the end to the beginning, from the beginning to the end, and again from another aspect from the end to beginning, and another aspect from beginning to the end, and how our ignorance and our non-ignorance, our enlightenment and non-enlightenment are mixed in our basic consciousness, which is actually a base for everything we experience. So this is a really wonderful text, and it needs a lot of effort to be put into it, to understand it. I have studied it and translated, try to translate it with the help of the commentaries, but I really did not appreciate the depth of this text until I was confronted with this senseless continuity of the mind due to the experiences which I have not experienced such a overwhelming experience before, when I suddenly was deprived of the efforts I have made for years, and I have become confronted with what is supposed to be a fatal sickness, namely cancer. So all this came together, and the result was the mind moving senselessly. Then, because I have a little experience in meditation, I have been learning for a long time Shamatha and Vipassana. So suddenly it came to me that the only way to confront this senseless stream of thinking is to go to Shamatha and Vipassana, but not on Shamatha and Vipassana as I used to do with an object, but on Shamatha and Vipassana without an object. And this is a shamatha and vipassana based on this idea we have found in the beginning, that the Dharma is one mind. One mind means the base of the mind. And this base of the mind is same for all beings. From the point of view of this base of the mind, the change which we confront as the movement of the mind is illusionary. But it is very difficult. We can get some ideas of it, but it does not prevent us again and again in believing in the truth of the continuity of the mind based on which we judge. We cannot avoid it unless we have a very high stage of realization, which I don't have. So let us then come to the text, and with this explanation we should be able to enjoy it more and more, because it is a text. Whoever has written it, he was the genius insight into the working of the mind. There is nothing quite like this in Chinese Buddhist literature, as far as I know it. And it is in some way also helps us to understand the most important text of Chinese Buddhism, like the Lankavatara Sutra, Ru Lanka Ching, like the Lenyen Ching, Surangama Sutra, and like the Lotus Sutra. So now came the confirm speaking language. Update English safe, yeah. Okay, this was a diversion. Something came out, I don't know why. So this makes this text very unique. So it is in a way commentary. It gives us a much deeper understanding of the most important text in Chinese Buddhist literature, which we study, the Lenyen Ching Surangama Sutra, and the Lotus Sutra and the Lankavatara Sutra, Ru Lanka Ching, and even the Daimon Sutra, Jing Kang Ching. When we study this text, so we will understand really much better what these whoever has taught this text, let it be the Buddha or the high enlightened bodhisattvas, had in mind. So this is very wonderful. So we did not translate the beginning, which are the reasons for the author, be it Ashwagosha, writing this text. The text is meant for those who don't like long, long explanations, who want a brief but very brief but explicit and gist of explanation. And this text is really the gist of all explanations we need to understand the so-called Mahayana Sutras. And indeed, in the history of Chinese Buddhism, many great scholars and yogis commenting on these most important sutras of Mahayana, also Huayan, the Avatamsaka Sutra, and so on, they are referring to this text. And they are using the language of this text, like Benjue, Shijue, and Bujue, and the Zhulai Zhang, and Alaye Shi, and Yi and Yi all these usages which are particular to this text, you may find in the commentaries of different Chinese traditions. So shall we go to these four mirrors or any other questions? Which was very important questions. I hope it becomes more clear now. No more questions. So let us go to the four mirrors, okay? So that we can at least cover this part today, and it is preparatory part for understanding how we get involved in the samsaric existence, which is these four mirrors is kind of preparing us to understand how we get involved with samsaric existence. Because we don't understand these different aspects of the Benjue, of the original enlightenment, of the original wisdom. This original wisdom, we, however, can only understand, that's why otherwise doesn't make any sense, in relation to the non-enlightenment. We can only understand enlightenment in relation to the non-enlightenment. This is the peculiar feature we have to always keep in mind for non-dualistic tradition. The so-called non-dualistic tradition is a reaction to the dualistic tendency of the scriptures of the disciples, which always explains only how to get away from samsaric kind of bondage and realize nirvana and make this samsaric bondage end. But it does not explain in detail, actually, how the samsaric bondage works from the beginning to the end and from the end to the beginning. So we had from end to the beginning, we have learned at the end is the enlightenment, which is non-enlightenment, because we still believe that the self is real. When we understand enlightenment, then we see the self is not real. But because we don't understand the selflessness of all the phenomena, we only understand the selflessness of the self. So this is not yet a complete enlightenment. It is called the like enlightenment, similar to enlightenment, but it is not a real enlightenment. In this tradition, real enlightenment is non-dualistic. Then we come to the non-dualistic realization. In non-dualistic realization, which we deepen and deepen, just like polishing the jewel we already have. So in the higher and higher stages of non-dualistic enlightenment, we then penetrate partial enlightenment. It is not yet complete enlightenment, even though we have understood that the differentiation is based on, in the sense of discrimination as something real, is based on the ignorance. This is a non-dualistic realization. We still have only partial realization because we still are subjected to imperfections. The Buddha is completely free from imperfections. So the practice of bodhisattva is the practice of the bodhicitta. That means universal enlightenment, not individual enlightenment, and which leads to the deeper understanding of the perfections we need to realize the state of the perfectly realized Buddha, not only Arahat. The perfectly realized Buddha is the Dharmakaya. We have learned about it. When we have Dharmakaya, then we also understand the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. They are inseparable. But the ordinary Arahat does not understand it because he has not gone beyond the correct differentiation. The correct differentiation is still is not connected with complete non-dualistic realization in this tradition. But this complete realization is not something which is foreign to us. This complete realization from the very beginning is the true nature of alaya. So we have to go back to alaya to understand this true realization. The understanding of alaya is the, so to say, in this tradition, the condition for going beyond duality, because duality is the product of the alaya itself. So the alaya, understanding of alaya is very, very important. And for the texts of the disciples, the alaya means just and only the consciousness which clings to the world. It does not speak how this consciousness gives rise to the perceiver and the perceived based on the karmic consciousness. We don't find it. We can only find it in the Mahayana scriptures. And so even in the scriptures connected with the Madhyamika understanding, which does not equal nirvana with consciousness, even there we find the alaya concept very useful. It is only through penetrating the alaya that we can understand the falsity of subject and object. Now, the essence of alaya is wisdom, and this true wisdom is the wisdom of suchness, and suchness is non-dualistic understanding of emptiness. To understand Buddhism, we have to understand emptiness. Without emptiness, so to say, no, Buddhism does not make sense, because the our experience of the world is empty of self-existent nature. It is the dependent origination. And the dependent origination is for us the based on the 5 aggregates of clinging. When we become arahats, we have the 5 aggregates of non-clinging. So when we die, no cause for rebirth. But in this tradition, the things are different. We don't want just not to be born. We want to realize the nature of the mind, which is same for all beings. Therefore, Dharma is called here one mind. One mind is same for all. It is a suchness of the mind. And the suchness of the mind is hidden in us. And that suchness of the mind, which is hidden, is called, as we have seen, is called the Tathagata Garbha, the womb of Tathagata. Without this womb of Tathagata, the Mahayana scriptures explain, without this womb of Tathagata, there is no way to get enlightened. So the true mind, as the Sri Mala, the Queen Sri Mala Sutra explains, the true mind does not change. What changes are the nimittas, the images of the mind, which are not true. And these images of the mind changes because of this karmic mind, which reveals the world. So we have in the Lankavatara Sutra, we have 3 kinds of mind: the karmic mind, yesh, we have the true mind, which does not move, and we have, based on the karmic mind, we have the xian shi, which is the revealing mind. And this revealing mind is moving because of it. The karmic mind makes it makes it move. If there is not the karmic mind, it will not move, and it moves. What moves are the images in the mirror of the mind. So here the mind is divided into 4 functions. So we have 4 kinds of mirrors. The first mirror, as we have seen, the suchness, Genru, has 2 aspects: the Kung, Pukhung, the empty and non-empty. So this alaya, when it becomes wisdom, is the empty mirror. It can, it is empty because it does not reveal anything real. So it does not reveal any real concrete objects. So it is something, it is a mirror which is separated from images. Images appear in it, but it itself has no images. This is precisely what Sri Mala Sutra explains. The alaya is its essence is suchness. The essence is suchness, is uh, uh, like essence of mirror, is separated from images. Images appear in it, but they are not separated from the mirror. They are just and only the mind, just and only suchness. So this aspect of the mind not giving rise to any images is this aspect is nothing but the Dharmakaya, the body of the Dharma. Without this aspect, there is nothing. Just like without the body of the mirror, no image can be revealed. So because it itself has no image whatsoever, it is when it becomes a wisdom, when it transforms in alaya, transform into wisdom, then becomes the wisdom of the perfect great mirror. Perfect great mirror, I think in Chinese they explain it as Ta Yuan Jing. So it is a great Maha, and it is perfect. It is not attached to any form whatsoever. So it is, so to say, the pure Dharmakaya, the pure suchness before any form can actually appear in it. Then we have the aspect of the non-enlightenment. The aspect of the non-enlightenment is called the mirror, which is the cause of the seeds in the mind, of the permeation of the mind by our habits. So it is truly not empty. We have empty, kung, shi kung, shi bu kung. It is really non-empty. Because all objects manifest in it, says the text. Let me read my translation. They in fact neither exist inside nor outside. They neither go out nor enter. They are not lost nor damaged. It is one mind, always abiding. Because it is always abiding, it can manifest according to whatever objects appear in it. its nature is real because it is all the phenomena. The phenomena we have learned in the beginning. In order to understand the essence, we need the phenomena. Without the phenomena, we cannot understand the essence. So in order to understand Buddhism, we have to understand essence, T. We have to understand phenomena, images or objects or nimitta or signs, Xiang. And we have to understand the functions, Yung. So here, this non-empty mirror is the manifestation the uh, of the uh, of the forms and functions of the essence, which is completely same we had at the beginning. Please read the beginning. The essence is ungraspable, unthinkable, has no name, and so on. Now, uh, uh, in order that we grasp it, we need some characteristics and we need some functions. And this characteristic and these functions, they are not empty. If they are empty, we cannot grasp them. So the essence of wisdom does not move as it is complete in the non-defiled, that means free from defilement. Therefore, it is always abiding because it is free from defilement. So these defilements neither enter in it nor do they get lost. That's why it is not empty. That in which defilements do not get lost and do not disappear cannot be empty. That's why, due to this non-empty aspect of the mind, we can realize the falsity of the self. If the if we don't understand that this karma always lasts and that it is based in ignorance, how can we remove this very, very deep idea of the self? So this wisdom, which is not empty, is when this mirror, which is not empty, is connected with the self. But the self, when it becomes a mirror, when it becomes a wisdom, it becomes in this tradition, it becomes a samatha jnana, the knowledge of sameness. Knowledge of sameness of what? Knowledge of sameness of the essence of mind, which remains always the same, and of manifestations of the mind, which are always changing. So the essence and the manifestations, they become equal in this non-empty knowledge. In this non-empty knowledge, it does not refute the worldly experience, but it does not belong to it. Why? Because it contemplates the essence and its manifestations, what we see in our experience, as being equal. So it cannot be empty. It sees that this original cause of this non-empty side is the object. If there is no the object, then there is no continuity of the mind. And because there is continuity of the mind, this continuity of the mind belongs to, we will learn later, to the individualizing consciousness. Individualizing consciousness are the three subtle aspects of the alaya, plus the differentiating wisdom and continuity. We will learn this is the individualizing aspect of the mind, with which we identify due to our ignorance. When our ignorance becomes the mirror of wisdom, then what will happen? We will understand that the true mind is not its images, and the images are not the true mind. But yet, the images can only appear because of the true mind. So the revelation of sameness is a revelation that the essence of the mind and its images, they are equal. This is a knowledge of sameness, the mirror of sameness. When the self becomes a mirror of sameness, then the mind becomes free from the inflow and outflow of impurities. This is what we have explained as its nature is real, because the phenomena neither go out of it nor they get lost or damaged. They just remain in it, always abiding. Why? Because we realize that this self and the true nature of the mind, they are not something which is different, but they are something which is the same, which is equal. Then we penetrate not only the falsity of the self, but also the falsity of the all phenomena which are, so to say, reflected by the self. So we understand that this parikalpita, pianti, is completely false. When we understand that pianti is completely false, then the parikalpita is fabricated reality by names is completely false. Then dependent origination, this is our world, right? Itachi, the dependent reality, is not different from the perfect reality. How we realize it? Because the fabrication is false. The self and suchness is not different. It is equal. So the parikalpita, the aspect of reality, the fabrication of reality disappears, and the perfect reality becomes the dependent origination. The essence of the mind and its images which manifest in it, they are in terms of equality, not in terms of differentiation. Very wonderful wisdom. Now we have the 3 and 4th mirrors. These 3 and 4 mirrors, they are related to what we have discussed in a last lecture. They are related to these 2 functions of the original enlightenment. The 2 functions of the original enlightenment is the pure wisdom and unthinkable karma. So this 3rd and 4th mirror, and then the process of understanding how we get involved in samsara from the karmic function of the mind appearing. That means from the moment we give rise to thought. We will explain it in next lesson, so that too many informations make the digestion difficult. So please try to understand it, go through it again. These are many, many informations, and I am trying my best to convey them, to make them intelligible. So again and again, we have to explain, we are in a state when our consciousness, which is characterized by thought, and our essence of mind, which is not equal to thoughts, but which also cannot be different from thoughts. This is the non-dualistic realization as opposed to dualistic realization. So neither same nor different. Our essence of mind, which is not changing, and the objects which appear in the mind, which are always changing, are neither same nor different. But we can only understanding when we penetrate the falsity of the individualizing mind. The individualizing mind does not understand that essence of the mind and the objects that appear in it, they are the same mind. So we have explained that Dharma is the realization of the one mind. In order to realize the one mind, we have to change all our types of consciousness into wisdom. So we have learned the eighth consciousness, the alaya, changes into the wisdom of great mirror. The manas, individualizing consciousness, which in this tradition is also connected with alaya, because from alaya comes a movement. And individualizing consciousness is what then behaves on the base of movement. We will learn more about it. So the manas, the individualizing consciousness, when we become Buddhas, becomes a wisdom of sameness. Wisdom of sameness, the mirror of same, the mirror of non realization. Non-realization is kind of intriguing. The non-enlightenment is kind of intriguing. Non-enlightenment is actually enlightenment. If there is no enlightenment, there cannot be non-enlightenment. If there is non-enlightenment, there cannot be enlightenment, because one who realizes enlightenment and non-enlightenment, it is the individualizing function. So when the individualizing function of the mind, the manas, sees the equality of essence which does not move, and of the images which appear in the essence which are moving, then our individualizing wisdom, our manas, becomes the wisdom of equality. Then when the mental consciousness, the sixth consciousness, becomes the pure wisdom, then the sixth consciousness becomes the wisdom of Miao Quan, of beautiful observation. And when we have the mental consciousness, beautiful observation, then the five consciousnesses which work on the base of mental consciousness, they become the aspect of the unthinkable karma, of the unthinkable activity, of the unthinkable functions. That is the aspect of just performing what is to be done due to the beautiful observation. Beautiful observation is due to wisdom of sameness. And the wisdom of sameness is due to the most important wisdom, which makes us Buddhas. That is a wisdom of universal mirror, one mind. So that much for today. We have already surpassed our time, and we will briefly mention next time the third and fourth aspect of the wisdom, based on this pure mirror and the unthinkable functions. And then we go to the understanding of how we understand what we are from the beginning. Then we will again discuss it from the end. And this beginning we do not see, but we believe in it because it makes perfect sense. That's why the awakening of faith in Mahayana, we have to have faith that indeed it makes sense. And it really does make sense. When you have, like myself, I have gone through the experience of very, very agitated mind, then you come to the realization that whatever moves cannot be true. But this realization is only, of course, still very, very far from any deep realization of the non-dualistic nature of our perception. We will come to it next lesson. So now let us transfer merit for the benefit of all sentient beings. 愿以此功德普济一切，我等一众生皆共成佛道。May the merits of this 2 days practice Dharma lead to the perfect realization together with all sentient beings. Om Mito. Okay, so that much for today. Let me
Thank you,
leave the program. And next week is Sunday. What is the date? Sunday?
30.
30.
30.
The 30. I have to start with the spa treatment. On the spa treatment, so on the 30, I will be in the car going to the spa. The 29th, let me see. Monico, 29th, Monico. Oh, I am not good in. She's not here. Kuba is here. Kuba, can you máš program těch aktivit?
Jo, malinký
20.
moment, Bante. Já se podívám.
Třicátého začínám lázně, že jo?
Jo, malinký moment. Jo. Já se to musím podívat.
So let me. No, I'm not sure if I have to go to spa on 29th or on the 30th. I'm not sure.
Bante, máte tam
Monika,
napsáno čumpelík na sklenářce.
That's cancelled. No Chumperik. I have to go to spa for this
Jo, tak
after radiation treatment.
Františkovo lázně tam máte 30. v neděli. 29. máte jenom čumpelíka.
Aha. Tak okay. So on 29th we can continue 2:30. To je neděle, ne? It's a Sunday.
29. je sobota.
Aha.
A
So
neděle 30. máte Mariánský lázně.
Aha. So we have to do 29th or we cancel. What is better, cancel or do 29th, Saturday?
Saturday is okay, Pastor.
Okay. Saturday at 2:30, huh?
Okay, Pastor.
Okay, I can write it down. It's definite. We agree on that. Huh? And Viana will send the link. Huh? Saturday 2:30, and we continue Saturday 2:30. Huh? Not a Sunday. And after that, when I am in the spa for 3 weeks, I guess I will have internet. I will take a computer. The reception will not maybe be as good as here, but we can continue then every Sunday again. Sunday will be free in spa. Okay?
Okay, Pastor.
So next week will be on Saturday, not on Sunday. So Kuba, you can send to those who participate. I don't know who is participating, who is not. But anyway, it will be on Saturday, okay?
Okay, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor.
And I will mark it down. And Viana, please keep me in track so that I don't forget.
Okay, Pastor.
You let me know on Friday that I should be there here at 2:30. Okay?
Okay, Pastor.
Okay. So
Thank you,
Thank you
Pastor.
so much, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor.
thank you. All the best. Have a nice weekend.
Yes.
And
Take care, Pastor.
bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Terima kasih teman-teman.
Teman-teman.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Bye.